folks.
Okay, we're down to about 30 seconds.
All right.
You
want to go back to a corporate tax rate of 14%, and you really believe, Smokey, that this is going to make Ontario competitive with other jurisdictions that want to keep or attract business? I can't believe that even you believe that.
Well, I heard that from some business people. But what they said, more importantly than that, if you get rid of some of what they call corporate welfare, all those little tax breaks that were in there before because the corporate tax rate was so high, they said, and I talked to, especially when they started talking about selling the LCBO, a lot of guys want to buy me lunch. But they said if you get rid of all that corporate welfare stuff that was designed to offset high corporate tax rates, you could leave it where it is now. The government will get more revenues and it would level the playing field for all corporations, which actually I think is a smarter way to go. But again, you got to provoke a debate somehow here and at least get people talking about fairness.
Well, I think you've done that and your time's expired. If you came to provoke a debate this morning, you did exactly that. So thank you very much for coming here.
Thank you.
Polite, I thought.
I thought so too. A civil debate.
Was civil?
Our next delegation this morning is from the March of Dimes Canada. If Stephen and Jerry are in the audience, if they come forward. You would make yourselves comfortable. You have 15 minutes like everybody else. Use that any way you like. You might want to introduce yourself when you're speaking the first time so that Hanson knows who it is.
Thank you very much and good morning. My name is Stephen Christianson. I'm the National Manager of Government Relations and Advocacy at March of Dimes Canada. And to my right is our Vice President of Programs, Jerry Lucas, and to his right, our Director of Employment Services, Judy Qullin. We think our presentation is rather timely, given one of the key elements of yesterday's federal budget and the general dialogue around implementing the recommendations of Ontario's Social Assistance Review, which do have some substantive financial implications. I'll get into a very brief overview of March of Dimes first, and then I'll turn it over to my colleague Jerry. Established in 1951, March of Dimes Canada is one of Canada's largest service providers and a tireless advocate for people with disabilities, serving as a resource for all Canadians requiring disability supports. With a wide range of programs and services, many of our consumers utilize more than one of our services to help them gain greater independence. Solutions for independence include employment services, attendance services, financial support for assistive devices, home and vehicle modification funding, peer support for stroke and post-polio survivors, and much more. Last year, we delivered more than 2.25 million hours of service to over 50,000 Canadians with disabilities. March of Dimes has been providing employment services to people with disabilities for over 50 years. Predating the introduction of the Vocational Rehabilitation Services Act in 1965. Our constituents are largely low income. Last year, 77% had incomes below $20,000 per year, and 30% had incomes below $10,000 per year. For this reason, and from this perspective, we wish to address social assistance reform and labor market access.
Thank you. My name is Jerry Lucas. I'm Vice President of Programs. We hope to leave some time for questions, so I'll take the easy job and read the statement and leave the questions for Judy. I want to begin by saying that we support many of the conclusions and recommendations of the Commission for the Review of Social Assistance, including establishing a standard rate for all adults to cover basic needs and housing-related costs, and a disability supplement recognizing the higher costs associated with living with a disability. While the first would be tied to employment, we believe that the latter should be delinked to remove a key disincentive to employment for people with disabilities. This income supplement could transition to a tax credit as the individual's income increases. These programs could be managed through a blended social assistance system as part of the Ministry of Community and Social Services. However, we support delinking the management of social assistance with programs to promote employment. Government employees, whether municipal or provincial, who oversee income maintenance programs are predominantly income support workers. People on social assistance, whether on ODSP or Ontario Works, and who are motivated to work, should have the support of an employment specialist who is not making decisions on their training and employment, from the perspective of social assistance administration. At the same time, we believe that the government case managers of employment support programs should not be deliverers of these vocational services. Ontarians with disabilities have a much higher rate of unemployment than the general population, especially people with lifelong disabilities who have both barriers to employment and little work experience. Many people with disabilities or significant barriers to employment require more than specialized employment supports and general job-finding services. Specialized needs such as consistent assessment and case management, integrated pre- and post-employment services and supports, and strong connections to employers. People with disabilities deal with a complex mix of variables that can affect their ability to obtain and retain employment. Examples include the type and severity of their disability, their education and training, cognitive and mental health issues, confidence and motivation, work history, and accommodation requirements related to their disability. A generalized or generic employment service cannot adequately account for or respond to such specific requirements. This requires specialized knowledge from the service provider. The latter point cannot be overemphasized. The current ODSP system is primarily geared to placement-ready individuals and is not structured to fund or facilitate the specialized services required by persons with disabilities. Assessment, motivation, training, work preparation and work hardening, and job supports are not possible to address under the existing program structure, precluding many who wish to work and would otherwise be capable of working from succeeding. Equally important when considering how to make employment services more effective are the coordination and administration of the services offered. The current system is fragmented, a point highlighted in both the Social Assistance Review and the Drummond Report, which identify 21 different government ministries, branches, and departments that oversee and support employment programs. We believe that the best way to maximize employment opportunities for people with disabilities and streamline administration is to merge the ODSP Employment Support Program with Employment Ontario under the umbrella of a ministry which has training and employment as its outcome focus, such as MTCU. This was a direction that the government supported in its last budget, and we encourage the government to continue on this path. We do not support the transfer of employment supports to municipalities. Access to employment supports should be guaranteed to all Ontarians. Downloading will create higher administrative costs, disparity among and between communities with respect to the range of services available, access to those services, and potentially service quality. Many people do not live and work in the same community as anybody traveling on the Don Valley Parkway knows. People work where there is opportunity. Tying services to municipalities narrows the access to pursue opportunities outside of the community where one lives. Of course, municipalities have an important role and contribution in local planning, collaboration, and service coordination. Local service providers such as March of Dimes can provide our expertise, knowledge of local labor markets and conditions, as well as training opportunities, whether the program administration remains provincial or is downloaded to the municipalities. In either case, we believe that service delivery should be separate from program administration. We are currently, as an example, a transfer payment agency to both provincial and municipal funders. So regardless of which system you use, the supports are coming from a provider such as ourselves. We thank you for the opportunity to speak today. We are always available to assist and work with the Government of Ontario to identify the most productive approaches to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of Ontario's current system of employment services, and welcome the opportunity such as this to contribute to the dialogue. And with that, we'll open it for questions.
Great, thank you very much. Great presentation. Just over 6 minutes. Michael or Catherine?
Thank you very much for the presentation. And just a comment, I'm glad that you came here to very strongly point out that downloading the transfer of employment supports to municipalities is not in the interest of those on ODSP or actually any Ontarian. And the reasons that you've given are fairly comprehensive. Municipalities, I don't believe, want this additional responsibility either. So I just wanted to mention that. Thanks very much. Do you have anything like that?
Well, no, I mean, do you have any comment?
Comment on that, yeah.
I would just comment that through, Judy Qullin, Director of Employment Services, through the labour market agreements, Ontario has an excellent employment support system through Employment Ontario.
Yeah.
And, they do an excellent job. If you or I or anyone were to lose their job and require supports, that's where we go. And I think saying to persons with a disability, you have to play in a different sandbox is really stigmatization. We need to ensure that everyone can leverage the support of the same service and go to the same place and receive the same excellent service that they're providing right now to all Ontarians.
Yeah, and do you I also agree with the idea of creating a tax incentive to employers, because what I hear primarily from the community at large is that it's generally stigma that is preventing employment opportunities, and it's a lost potential for us as a province when we're not when those with disabilities, their potential is not realized in the employment workforce. So I think there's a lot of room for improvement, and I thank you for especially your labour market access and participation issues.
Questions I had relate to the poverty of people with disabilities. It is huge. No matter where I go, one of the hallmarks of being poor is to have a disability. I mean, it's sad, but it's true. Your debate here is kind of gentle. A little tweak here, a little tweak there of government. Can you tell me why you're not in a rage about this? Because I kind of am.
Yeah, I think we agree that the level of support is too low, and we think that should be addressed as for people who are not employed and have to live below the poverty line. And I think because the primary focus here was to talk about employment, we didn't go into great depth with that, but we do believe that it has to be raised. But the other point is that there's a real disincentive to getting out of poverty for people with disabilities if they're going to lose all the drug benefits and the other supports that they have.
Back as well.
Right. So that what we're really saying is recognize that somebody with a disability at whatever income level has a need for a level of support, but it can be, and that those extra costs can be a tax credit if you're at a high enough rate where you're paying taxes, but it would be an income supplement if you're at a low level. So it bridges you without it being a disincentive.
The Lank and Shake report is recommending that people be allowed to keep the first $200 that they earn if they're on disability without having it clawed back. I personally feel that's kind of low, because if they were allowed to keep the first $500 or $600 along with disability payments, that would actually take them near the poverty level. And can you comment on whether the $200 is sufficient?
It's probably, it's much too low. I think that what we're really commenting on is something that's been around for a long time. Having been in the field for a long time, I remember the obstacles report that came out in 1981 addressing issues of disability recommended separating out, supports related to disability from employment-related supports, because wherever you cap it, it's still going to be a disincentive. So I don't think $200 is enough to make it less of a disincentive.
Is there more time, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, you've got just about a minute and a half.
Oh, good. Okay. Then the Lank and Shake report also makes a great many other recommendations. One of them they've made is to recombine disabilities with general Ontario Works. Do you have any comment on that? I know that some people think that there should not be what is called deserving poor and undeserving poor, but I'd also like to hear from disability experts whether you think that this is going to in any way hurt those, particularly those who were born and will live their whole life with some kind of disability.
Yeah, I think you can combine administration as long as you acknowledge that there are additional costs and therefore create a second income supplement. If you don't do that, I mean, you can always say at this, that at a certain level, everybody who is unemployed has, the same need for income support. But there has to be that acknowledgement that there is the extra costs, and the only time you can merge it is if you create that second supplement.
Thank you for the work you do. I was the mayor when you opened up on 10
Right.
Overley, and I remember opening the place, and I've been very proud of you ever since.
Thank you.
Okay.
Stephen, Judy, and Jerry, thank you for coming today. Great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, our next delegation perhaps brought some samples.
If it had been the afternoon, we would have been primed and ready, let me tell you. We would have brought you trees. Sorry, just want to show I have a long memory.
Make yourself comfortable there, Patrick and Jim. You've got 15 minutes like everybody else. If there's any time left at the end of the presentation, it will go to the Liberals. I'll let you know when you're getting near the end of the presentation if it looks like you're going to run over.
Perfect.
It's all yours.
Great. Listen, thank you very much for this opportunity this morning. We surely appreciate it. My name is Patrick Gedge, and I'm President and CEO of the Winery and Grower Alliance of Ontario. And I'm joined by Jim Clark, who is President of Colio Estate Wines and Vice Chair, Winery and Grower Alliance of Ontario. Just as background to our organization, the WGO is the leading industry trade association in Ontario, with its members representing over 85% of the wine produced in the province. You may know us a bit more by our brand names such as Jackson Triggs, Trius, Inniskillen, Peller Estates, Colio Estate Wines, Magnata, Lakeview Cellars, etc. Our members include both wineries and grape growers in the province, as we believe the continued success of the industry is best guaranteed by both groups working seamlessly and cooperatively together. In fact, to demonstrate our interdependence, our wineries purchase over 85% of the wine grape crop produced each year by independent growers in Ontario. This presentation is extremely timely, as an independent study has just been unveiled that provides the economic impact of the industry in Canada and in the provinces of Ontario, British Columbia, Quebec, and Nova Scotia, the major domestic wine-producing regions. The study was carried out by Frank Rimmerman and Company, who have conducted similar research studies for the United States industry and some 20 individual states in the U.S. In summary, the wine and grape industry represents an economic benefit to Canada of $6.8 billion a year, of which Ontario is almost half. Ontario highlights of the analysis indicate the Ontario industry has an annual economic impact of